For more on the Gaza conflict and the international efforts to put an end to the fighting, we're joined by Gould. She's the lead lobbyist on Middle East policy for the Friends Committee on National Legislation, an organization that lobbies for peaceful solutions to conflicts. Kate, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here.
You know, there's been so much talk and debate within the United Nations. Can investigation to pursue war crimes really accomplish anything?
Certainly. It's a very important step forward to ensure that there is accountability for war crimes committed on all sides. And it's not surprising that the Obama administration did vote against this resolution, but it certainly is a devastating rebuke of these efforts, the basic international principles that we have to actually protect civilian life.
And as we also saw behind the scenes, there have been a lot of talks, a lot of brokering behind the scenes in Cairo to try to get something done. Hamas is saying no to what Egypt is putting forward again. Do you think lifting the blockade would be, that seems to be the main sticking point. So if that happens, will that solve everything?
That would certainly take us much further to our ceasefire agreement and very well could clinch the deal. The blockade is a critical demand that Hamas has made, and of course, to get a ceasefire agreement, we have to have some kind of agreement that gives something to all sides, to Israel and Hamas in this. But also, it's been a critical demand of human rights organizations around the world that have said that, look, this blockade is collective punishment. It has a devastating impact on civilian life, on every Palestinian life in Gaza, and it's been going on for 7 years, and it has to end.
So what do you think will be different this time around than the last ceasefire agreement in 2012?
Well, this time there would have to be a greater emphasis put on how both sides are going to be held accountable to uphold the ceasefire. So we saw in November 2012 that it did require Israel to lift the blockade, but no progress was made. And in fact, we've seen actually in recent days the blockade intensify, so that since July 6th, Israel hasn't been letting in some very basic goods, clothing and very basic goods into the Gaza Strip. So there would have to be greater assurances that Israel will be held accountable, that this time the blockade will actually be lifted.
I want to turn your attention now to the airlines and all these international airlines stopping flights going into Tel Aviv. Do you think this is, in effect, an economic sanction on Israel? Is there some political efforts to stop this? I mean, Israel obviously not happy about this at all, saying that they're losing money in tourism, all sorts of things. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's ironic that there's this huge uproar over the FAA decision and calling on, saying that the FAA decision is political, and then actually the proponents of lifting the ban are saying that the FAA should cave to political pressure. I mean, it's trying to politicize this, and really it's about basic bureaucratic FAA regulations on when they're allowed to fly. And certainly with the downing of this Malaysian airplane, I mean, that has really cast a shadow and made people far more reticent to go ahead with flights in these in these potentially dangerous conditions.
All right, Gould, we appreciate your time as always. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.